Hey, happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday. Hello, everybody. I'm back. I'm back for the show. I was off for the month of April and we changed the day. Now I'm on Saturdays at the same time at 11. So, for the first show on Saturday, I'm coming back for the third part with the live with my brother. For those that didn't know, I had a show with my brother who lives in California about diabetes because he is type 2 diabetic and was giving us his journey from the discovery of the disease to the whole psychological changes and the ups and downs that came with it, and now living a good life, we can say, learning to adapt his new condition to his everyday life and manage to have a good life nonetheless. So, Daniel, I don't know
Hey,
what you want to say.
hey, thanks, Beatrice. I mean, first off, do have to say that at least the first two shows, I think there was what I was calling my mission was realized because I said to myself, if at least two people can hear the message and two people can act on it,
The
right,
word. Yeah.
then it's success.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a lot of comments, posts, people thanking for us doing the show and sharing the story, right? Because it's dual sided. It's not just about me. It's about what's about you as well. We talked a little bit about that and the rest of my family. But also, some people reach out to me directly, right?
Yeah.
So reach out with advice. Other ones reach out asking for advice, right? And there were voices from the past. I mean, I'm sure it's obvious how old I am with the grays, like a friend of mine reached out and I had not heard from him in at least 30 years,
Yeah.
right? Another one reached out. I had not seen him in at least 15, 20 years, if not longer, right? So it goes to show that at least mission accomplished, right? So people heard the message, and I think now they take it at heart to continue their own mission, right? However they see it,
Yep.
whether, because if one, it's what I call the concept of multiplicity, right? If one turns into two and each of the two turns into two each, right? It's kind of like a pyramid, but to a good end.
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, like you mentioned, first show we talked about being diagnosed, and then the second show was more about accepting the diagnosis, right, and the adjustments to life, diet, exercise, And then this show is kind of like for me more where the rubber meets the road, right? Because it's not easy being diabetic. I mean, for example, you're an athlete, right? And there's a discipline that comes with staying an athlete, especially a competing athlete, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the same comes with any illnesses that you have, right? There is a certain discipline that is required that, will dictate how successful or unsuccessful you are at managing the illness. And for me, being diabetic, I hate medication. I hate restrictions, right? But that's all it's about. And it's about setting expectations for yourself. And the journey has been very rewarding for me because I've learned a lot as well,
Yeah.
So I would say living diabetic, like for example, this morning, I haven't had breakfast yet. It's 8 o'clock my time, after 8. Obviously, I haven't taken my medications yet, right? I got to think about it. Just last week, I went to my ophthalmologist, right? We did the diabetic eye exam, which is very different than your standard eye exam.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, yeah, you know, your blood pressure is still not under control. You're showing signs of cataracts, you know, early stage of cataracts developing mainly in the right eye. You know, I thought that was developing a nerve optic damage because I do see, what you might call it, like floaters in my vision, right? And the doctor was like, well, the good news is your optic nerve is still good. There's no,
Okay.
you know, the bad news is at age 52, it's kind of early to start developing cataracts, right? And with diabetes comes obviously naturally high blood sugar. Comes also, it starts putting stress on other organs, right? And it starts, we talked about that in your early series, and it talks about, for example, we talk about the blood pressure piece. And the blood pressure is where really, you know, a lot of things happen. You know, pressure to your organs. Your eyes are a weak organ, right? So this is yet another challenge for me, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't intend to let that slip. But the reality as well is, since we talked, and I know I told you, yeah, you know, I know you challenged me on the bike ride and everything. Still haven't been back on a bike, right? Because it's just, my mind is just not there yet. You
Yeah.
know, it's a lifelong journey. It's a journey where, you know, at every corner you have to make decisions, right? And long story short, I haven't done one heck of exercise since July of last year. And that is a requirement, right, to maintain health.
Yeah.
Don't have to become the athlete that I was in my 20s, but I have to exercise, right? I have to make peace with self that, you know, hey, if you really want the best quality life that you can, you know, it's not just the diet. And I've been off my diet many times, you know. I've been good with my diets, less than I have been, less than I have been bad. And you know, and that's the journey. That's the journey of a diabetic, right? Every day, everywhere you turn, like you go to a restaurant, you have friends with you, everybody's like, ha ha ha, I'm gonna have ice cream for dessert. And you're looking at it, so it's like, well, I can't have ice cream for dessert, right? Because getting the ice cream and popping the pills, right? The pills are not magical pills. It's not a pill that kills your blood sugar. It's just a pill that helps your system digest, that helps the insulin penetrates the blood cells. So there's no quick and dirty trick where I'll say, yeah, you know what, let me go get 20 pills, right? What's going to happen that probably at 4 o'clock when the 20 pills kick in, then I'll have a hypoglycemic episode that will probably kill me or toss me into a coma.
Yeah. And
So that's what living as a diabetic is, right? And that's just from a food, exercise perspective. Outside of that, guess what? Life doesn't change.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
like the other day, which could apply to what you're saying right now, but the other day I saw this short video, and it applies to everything in life, right? It was this guy that was interviewing celebrities, but
mhm.
about stuff about life, you know. And then there was Robert De Niro, there was Tom Hanks, and all these guys. And then the guy asked, you know, if you were to go back to your younger self, what would you tell your adult self? And
Yep.
Tom answered, and he was like, I wish I'd tell him, you know, this too shall pass.
Mhm.
So something bad happens and everything, you feel bad, you feel crushed, you feel angry and everything. It's like, this too shall pass. However, the contrary is also the same. Like, you feel great, you feel like you've conquered the world, you feel like you're on top of everything. This too shall pass. And that's the reality of life, right? We have ups and we have downs, and we need to learn how to level at each one of them, meaning staying humble and having that confidence enough when you're up and swim when you're down and say, you know, we're gonna make it better, right? So
Yep.
yeah, like people don't understand that it doesn't matter if you're strong, if you're this, if you're that, but sometimes we fail and we fail hard. But the end result is, what do you do after the failure?
That's right. No, you see, you touch on a very valid point that I apply to many other places.
Yeah. And at the
It,
end of the day, it's everything in life. So yeah, like you messed up on your diet, you this, you that, but then it's like there comes a certain point you're like, okay, you know, I need to straighten up things
yep.
and take care of myself better because and this, that.
Yeah, it's kind of what you talk about is what I call the journey to life, right? You decide when that journey is over.
Yes, exactly.
So
Exactly. You decided because you are in control actually.
yeah,
It's a matter of choice at the end of the day. Is always like the matrix. What are you taking, the red pill or the blue pill?
yeah,
And you know whichever one you pick, you know where it's gonna lead you. So
yeah.
uh,
So what I tell my kids a lot of time is life is like driving a car, right? And you always get to intersections. You either go, depending on type of intersections, you can have two choices, three choices, sometimes more, sometimes even less, right? And your decision today dictates the outcome later,
yeah.
right? And so living diabetic is no different as living, right? I mean, if somebody that's perfectly healthy, it only take one incident to change that,
Yep.
right? And that's the same thing with being diabetic, right? It's no different. It's just we want, especially early in the acceptance phase, you have that constant stigma, that constant pressure of reminding you, oh, I'm diabetic, I'm diabetic. Here's the worst thing about being about what the U.S. society do about diabetics, right?
Mhm.
Walk into the DMV today and walk out with a handicap license plate.
Yeah. Yeah.
It,
Because
it's a label,
not the,
and that label says, oh, you are less, you are almost less than the next person.
yeah. Then a quote unquote normal human.
That's
So
right.
yeah, that's the thing, and you know those labels they come with psychological reactions. You know,
Ab- Absolutely.
we have to deal with that also. We have to deal with those labels.
Yep.
But to come back to the diabetes things and the challenges, I remember there was well, to go into the world of fitness, you know how bodybuilding is about discipline. If you want to make it very high up there, you better put discipline. Parallèlement, being diabetic or any other condition, right, that is not the norm of the body, there's a certain discipline that you need to adapt to be able to, you know, deal with it.
Yep.
So there's this athlete that I used to follow. I still follow him. He's a great athlete. He's a men's physique bodybuilder, and he's type 2 diabetic. And in a documentary, this guy was telling you the challenges that he faces, right? Because a normal bodybuilder, they have their diet, they have their this, their that, and they wake up every day and they go to the gym. And he was a way out there athlete because he was a top 3 Olympia competitor. And you're an Olympia competitor, it's like the biggest competition in bodybuilding.
Yep.
So, and he would go with you on how his days would go every single day. So every single day he woke up, and the first thing he did is his blood sugar level.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that number, his nutritionist would adapt the day for him, because the nutritionist had to adapt the day as per his diabetic issues and the training and the condition that he needs to get for competition.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is not the same, which would not be the same nutrition as the competitors that will be on stage with him competing.
Yeah.
So that
That's
was a challenge on top of another one. And the guy, he's top 3, he's succeeding, but he's telling you that, and he had tears in his eyes because it's tough. It's not easy. And it demands this mental will, this mental strength that if you don't, you know, choose that path, then, you know.
Yeah. It's like, you know, based on your conditions, you know that you do have to impose certain restrictions, right? And to put it very mildly, you're on a plane, you're gonna jump out of the plane. Do you put the parachute on and try to guarantee a certain outcome, or do you just jump out without a parachute and guarantee a whole different outcome? You know, and it's no different than living diabetic, right? And like what I'm saying is, it's no different than living. Period, right? It's you will put restrictions upon yourself, right? You will decide how far you want to go, what you want to do, what you want to undertake, right? But for me, it's life as usual, right? I go to work, I drive, you know, I still enjoy spending time behind my computer. I enjoy mentoring kids, right? When people ask me questions about diet and exercise, no, I go all out. Like the other day, I was talking to one of my wife's uncle, recently diagnosed with cancer, and I, you know, took the portion of a book that I was reading about diabetes and healthy eating habits, right? And sent it to him. Literally ripped the book apart, make a PDF out of it, send it to him. And it's like, hey, you know what? I know we're talking apples and oranges, but at the foundation, we have to eat right. We have to live right.
Everything comes down to how you eat.
Exactly. So it's you know, what I would say for me is, you know, I'm alive. I feel well. You know, I have my moments. I have my ups. I have my downs, right? I have another doctor's appointment due within the next few weeks. You know, we'll find out where my numbers have gone to from the past 3 months. I've made it a point to not miss my medications because guess what? I'm not offering any alternatives to myself, right? I'm not exercising. So I have to consider the medications, right? And then from there, like you say, it's a journey. You know, I am going to jump eventually back on the bike. In fact, I probably lied because I did exercise once in the past 7 months. That was about ago.
Down. That's like that.
You know, exactly. But it's life, and it's about don't put restrictions on yourself. Don't put the labels, right? I keep joking, like sometimes when we go out to the movies, like, yeah, I should get my handicap plate just because I'm diabetic, right? I joke about it, but what we say is like, don't put those labels on yourself, right? I was diagnosed, I accepted it, now I live it, right? And that's it. You know, from here on, it's just about decisions, knowing that, you know, for me, I know there's a path to normalcy, and even while being diabetic, right? And that path is okay. That's the path that I'm choosing to follow. I'm not rushing to exercise because I feel if I rush to it, I will fail. But I know that I do have to get back on that path as well. I do have to stay on the path of healthy eating, right? And from there, you know what? Life will go on. Life will go on. I will continue to fight. I will continue to talk to whoever wants to have the next conversation. But what I would tell people, type 2 diabetes, and again, we talk about type 2, not type 1, but
Yeah.
Diabetes is avoidable. All it takes is discipline at the onset.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, and, you know, what it does as well, what I would say, what has changed in life, and I think we touched about it a little bit, is how it impacts the people around you, right? The fact that you felt, even yourself felt the need to run the show, right? It's like, hey, let's talk about it. And I know in the first, especially in the first show, I know it was even for you an eye opener, right? To hear some of those accounts and the people near you, close to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even them, they go to stages of change. And in this case, because of you, because I was negligent, right? And so at some point, you have to ask yourself questions like, was that fair to them? You know, it's kind of like at some point you become the center of attention, but for the wrong reasons. You know, and you know, and the simple answer is it is not fair to them. You know, it's fair to my wife, to my kids, to my
It is
brother.
not fair to them, but at the same time, um, I think in life, well, I think I've learned that in life, the blame game also does not lead to any places, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yes, not fair, but it's here. So what can we do?
yeah. What can we do? And it's not
That,
even what
that
we is what can I do? So it's not a worry for the next person.
exactly.
You know, for example, every time I call mom, and she never fails to ask, "How are you doing with the diabetes?" And she has that worry under her voice, in her voice, right? And it's an additional piece of stress that I put on her,
Mm-hmm.
right? That she doesn't need. So it doesn't matter whether I'm on a high or a low point in my journey. I always say, "Oh no, we're good. We're dealing, right?"
Yeah.
So so you know, it's and that's it sucks, but it is there and it's not going anywhere. You know? But I think along that journey with you on those Instagram live, right? Live Instagram conversations, I've learned a lot, right? I've learned the power of meditation, and I've learned that mainly to a friend that reached out afterwards, right? Uh, I don't know if you remember. Here's a funny story that happened since we started the show. In the first episode, I talked to you about my frustration being at the supermarket,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And somebody reached out because that kind of stayed with them when I made that comment about the fact that I cannot open the plastic bags, right? And I don't want to name anybody, but it's a family member. So she reaches out and she says, "Hey, I'm gonna solve your problem for you," right? And I was like, "Okay, what are you gonna do?" So she says, we'll do her FaceTime." So she does a FaceTime and she has a plastic bag. And she says, instead of taking with the tip of your fingers trying to open it, she said, "You're gonna take the whole bag in the palm of your hand and rub it." And she did it and it worked. And she had a whole bunch of bags and she demonstrated it. So I go to the supermarket, pull my bag, and I put it in my hands. And I'm like, and everybody's looking at me like, "What the heck are you doing?" So, and the bag never opened.
That's what I was gonna tell you. Like sometimes when you do these things, you think it's all good and everything, and you go to the place it doesn't work, and you look crazy.
You know, you look crazy, but I laugh about it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to mail her one of those bags and have her demonstrate with that bag and see if it works for her. But, you know, but Karen was there that time and we laughed about it. She was like, "It's not going to work, Clovis." And I'm like, "I don't know. Give me another bag. Maybe this one is defective," right? and I'm trying and I'm doing the top and nothing works better than dipping 2 fingers in a little bit of moisture, rub it, the bag opens right away.
Yeah.
You know, and guess what? At the end of the day, even during the time of COVID, for example, when masks were enforced, I find myself pulling the mask, putting the two fingers under my mask, right? But I open 2, 3 bags at the same time, so I don't have to keep making contacts and bring any germs in my mouth.
Yeah.
You know, so it's you live with that, you know, and there are people that even wrote books, jokes about diabetes, right? For example, one joke I read one time, and Karen wasn't happy with that joke. He says, what do you call a paper cut when you're diabetic? And it says, time to test, right? Because you just have blood coming out, right? So it's time to do a sugar test. So at the end of the day, I think the lesson is I have a medical condition, again, medical condition, but it doesn't have to stop me. It doesn't have to make me any less than the next person, right?
Yeah.
I check my feet a lot more than I ever used to, right? Because they say, it's funny, people don't understand that you lose your foot, not because you have too much blood sugar, it's because you have no sensation, you get a cut, your feet themselves already don't have a lot of nerves, and eventually it gets infected. It's simple as that. It's not,
Wow.
it's not diabetes that rotten your foot and they had to cut it. You step on something you did not know. So, you know what? You adopt new routines. You check your feet more often. If you have a cut, and Karen will tell you, I'm very accident prone. I cut myself this week.
I was so scared when you had that nail gun. When you shot the nail to your leg. Was it a nail gun?
No, it was a box cutter.
Yeah, whatever it was. I was scared.
Yeah, you know. And I was in Haiti at that trip, you know, and I remember.
I'm like, that thing is not healing.
You know, Mom would wake up every night to check my leg, you know.
Yeah, I was paranoid about it. I'm like, Mom, when you look at it, do you see it healing? She's like, it doesn't look like it's healing.
But the funny thing is, you know, as good old Haitian, I go to the beach. And then a friend of mine tells me, you know what, put it in the salt water.
Yeah.
So 2 days later, I was at the doctor to get it the wound reopened and then restitched. And my good buddy, Regina Viala, you know, stitched me up. And that's when, you know, the wound actually was really neutralized, right? So the reality is you have to be more careful with yourself. You know, you have to recognize the signs when your blood sugar goes high. You have to be in tune with your body. And long story short, it brings you next level discipline.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's all there is to it. You know, so it's a life change, but you welcome it, you take it, you run with it, you take all the support you can get. You know, and you're not perfect. Like I said, I've been exercising forever. You know, just last night I had spaghetti and meatballs, right? But am I going to have it every day? No.
No. But that's the thing also, you know, it's like, it's a bit cynical to say it because you don't want to wish a disease on anybody or yourself. It's like when you come up to those crossroads, it teaches you a lesson that is very valuable.
Yeah.
Become another person. And you become that person that you would not be if that had not happened.
That's right. That's right. You know,
right?
you start looking at life from a different set of lenses because it happened to you or it happened to somebody that's near and dear to you.
Yeah.
You know, you start paying attention at other aspects of life, which is life in itself, right? That's what it is in the end. It's life. You know, we go through it, and you know, you get into a car accident, you know, and you decide what you want to do. So you become diabetic. You decide what you want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
You decide, am I going to abuse my body and kill myself eventually, or am I going to take care of my body? So
it comes down to that again.
Yeah, yeah. Life, live a good.
Choices, you know. What do you choose to do?
Yeah, and then so I think it's going to be a good journey. I have a lot of support. You know, I never thought for once that we would be there having this conversation, you and me. You know, and
Attends-moi, la personne qui dit qu'il n'y a pas de son, c'est ou même seulement qui pas entendre, parce que tout l'autre monde entend, oui. Donc peut-être c'est téléphone ou. Oui, Daniel.
yeah, yeah. So, you know, we're gonna go through this journey. I intend to be a grandfather if my kids do decide to have kids, right? I intend to be very involved as a grandfather, very involved as an uncle when I get to see my nephews and nieces, right?
Huh?
And life will go on. Life will go on.
Yeah.
Not gonna stop. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. There's too much life to live, you know. I think I told you the last time I went to my next racing class. I still haven't won the class. I still came second. So that most coveted AMG helmet, which is what you win, that nobody can buy because it's a special color and gets your name engraved to it, I gotta have it. So,
gotta have
it.
And think about that to get back to the bike, because you're gonna need some kind of thing anyways.
I mean, get kicking your ass, man, first.
Yeah. that so we'll deal with that.
You know, I'm gonna do you a favor that day.
Get there.
I'm gonna put the camera directly on the calf so you can see them contract and expand as I. She's not happy with it.
Whatever.
No, but yeah, we're gonna continue, right? And then I'm gonna have fun with it. It's not always gonna be easy, but mark my words, this is not what's gonna stop me.
No, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Okay, it should be what pushes you.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the kids, the family, my wife. I'm looking at my wife. She's across the way. She says hi, by the way.
Why doesn't she come to the live?
Yeah. You want to say hi, Karen? Hi. She says hi.
Hi, Karen, that I don't see.
Yeah. No, it's, you know, I can speak to them that, you know, in the beginning, I'll say, it was very stressful on them, right? It's kind of like as I went through my stages, right, from diagnosis to recognition to living, they too went through those stages, you know, and that's what I say is unfair when we abuse our body, put that stress on other people, and you don't realize that 99.9% of the time you don't realize how unfair it is until after the fact, right? So they went through their stages too, because there was almost, I shouldn't say panic, but extreme concern. Mm-hmm. There was that moment of, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? You know, because the person is not you, so they care for you. So you get the question.
And they don't know about the disease. They're learning.
That's right.
At the same time, so
that's right.
Worry.
And for me, I don't read, so it was Karen doing most of the reading. And it's like, this is what I found out, you know. And that's when we realized that how unfair medicine is by not really putting a strong focus on what diabetes really is. Because I think half of the people that are diabetic, if they really understood what was about to happen to them, they would fix it.
Yeah, they would. Because you get a lot of people that are diabetic, but so still undisciplined. And I think that this lack of discipline comes from the lack of knowing
Yeah.
what it's about.
No, exactly. I tell you, it's a lazy man illness. You're like, oh, okay, you start, you do your little exercise, but they don't explain to you the impact on your vital organs, right? It's one thing when you have a paper cut, then you put a Band-Aid because you can control that. It's a completely different thing when, for example, your kidneys start malfunctioning because you're diabetic. Your liver functioning because you're diabetic, because there's nothing you can do. There's not even an over-the-counter medication that's going to help with that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then you get your pancreas. Now that till this day, doctors tell you, we don't know why it stops. We don't know why it starts, right? It is an organ that you can live without. That's what they know, right? If you want to cut your pancreas, if you want to have it cut out, they'll cut it out for you. They'll give you an insulin pump that keeps pumping you, right? The insulin that your pancreas should generate. It's just a complete mystery. And then comes with the other stuff, like what it does to your skin, what it does to your eyes, to your feet, And so again, I think if people understood what that was, right, you wouldn't be to that stage of journey. So imagine, I don't read. I only have the information from the doctors. And then Karen, my wife, goes and she buys those books, right? And she buys, for example, we trust the Mayo Clinic. So most of the books that we would buy are from the Mayo Clinic, right? And she starts discovering even before me what that illness could do to me, right? And so she goes through the shock effect of the diabetes before I even go to the shock effect of understanding what the illness really is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I say it's unfair to the people that you live with. I wish, like, for example, when we have education classes, even in schools, right, in grade schools, right, they talk about exercise, eat well. No, let's talk about prominent illnesses. Let's talk about what it will do to you or could do to you, and let's talk about how you can prevent them. This would be better educational program in schools, so younger kids that still can avoid becoming diabetes, have that domain knowledge, and can disseminate. Right? It's not like, look at Uncle so-and-so, he got no legs, ha ha ha, right? Because he's diabetic. That's probably the least. That's probably the least of his problems today.
Mm-hmm. There's somebody that is asking, do you know websites that share this kind of information and its effects? I would say the Mayo Clinic website, maybe.
Yeah, I tell everybody, go to Mayo Clinic. It's one of the greatest research centers in America, in the world for that matter, right? Mm-hmm. So you take the major names in America, Mayo Clinic, Johns Hopkins, Harvard Medical, right? You go there, these are people that invest years and years in understanding illnesses, right? They're definitely give you that. And so, yes, get involved with that. Buy books, their Mayo Clinic's books right there on BNcom, right? I'm not advocating, I'm not making an ad, but if you go to BN.com, you put Mayo Diabetes, you'll find books and read them, understand what it does, right? And share that knowledge with your doctor.
Yes, and she asked another question. Are there any programs? Okay, et pour Haïti, je ne me rappelle plus du nom de l'association, but I had this association at Oxygen when I was doing my fitness thing, and they were doing blood sugar tests. Je pourrais faire les recherches pour toi and send you a DM. But there is an association for diabetics. I just need to remember the name. Mais Madame Lavo, je t'enverrai ça par DM. I'll check out the info and send it to you by DM for Haiti. Yes. So, hi George. Where?
Yeah, and then what I would say as well to Madame Lavo is, talk to your doctor. Force the conversation with them.
Yeah, ask as many questions because j'ai remarqué ce que tu dis là. I've observed that with a lot of doctors. You have some doctors, they will give you the whole shebang details without you asking them. But there are a lot of doctors, if you don't ask,
Yeah.
not gonna go there with you. And
Yeah.
you know, it's their way, it's okay, but you need to force the questions and not go home and say, you know, why didn't he tell me about this? I needed to know about that. Just ask.
Yeah. You see, for example, Beatrice, you know, I work in life science industry. I'm an IT guy, but I support companies that develop drugs. And what we see now is a shift, right? Instead of really targeting the doctors to understand illnesses and medication and treatment, now we actually did a complete shift. We're building it, for example, in the company where I am today, we're building an entire social media platform program to educate patients on the disease that we treat, and then have the patient bring the word to the doctor. Because doctors, one doctor can only see so many people, right? They can't give you that. It's
Exactly.
best that you educate yourself and then walk in there and ask a directed question to your doctor. It's like, hey, you know what? I read this about diabetes. This is how I feel. Help me understand. And then what I would offer as well, I think it was Madame Lavo that raised the question about programs in Haiti. See a nutritionist as well. It's not just the doctor.
Yes.
Right? See the nutritionist, help them understand your diet, and help them really create a balanced diet for you. And I know, dear Beatrice, you might be the best person to provide that information, right? But it's the combination of the three. See your doctor, see your nutritionist, and see your gym rep. Whoever's helping you with exercise, join a gym, or go online, you know, figure out, and then that completes the package. It's the trifecta.
Yes.
For healthy.
It's the trifecta of health. And there's one thing I can say also to add to that. You know, when I started my fitness journey and learning how to eat, and that's why, you know, in my posts, you will always see me say to people, you know, you have to be patient. You have to be patient because it's a learning process. And when I started having nutritionists, you know, telling me about certain things, and me, when I started investing in supplements, and before selling supplements, I did my education on supplements to be a supplement advisor. And when I started learning about ingredients and all these things within nutrition, and I would go to the supermarket, and whatever I would pick, I would go on the nutrition fact labels. And the level of crap that you would see in food today,
Yeah.
and it's like, if I didn't have that education in nutrition and supplements and ingredients and what things do to your body, I would be eating those scraps, because those scraps come from a lot of food that I enjoy eating that are tasty and everything. But it's not because the food is tasty that it means that it's healthy or not even poisonous. And you have to read. Like, for example, I always take that example. People, you know, they tell you sugar is not good and this, and they go and buy, instead of buying the Coca-Cola, they buy the Coke Zero. And it has that replacement sugar thing. What's the name of that thing again?
Aspartame or
Aspartame. And what people don't understand is that aspartame is even more poisonous than sugar. It is a cancer, you know.
causing,
So yeah, you go buy the Coca-Cola, you're gonna get Coke Zero. Guess what? Same shit.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, that's one thing. For example, one of the books that we have, and I wish we knew that. I'll send it to you, Beatrice. You can share with whoever, right, that you are going to share the information. That's a book from Mayo Clinic. I think there's a section in the book that teaches you how to read food labels.
Yes.
So, for example, most people don't know the concept of the hidden carb. If you take 90% of the products that are out there, you look at the total carb, and then there's the sugar, and I think the next element is the protein.
Yeah.
for them, it doesn't add up to the total amount of carbs.
Nope.
It's because the Food and Drug Administration doesn't require that this specific type of carb be exposed, but it is as for your health as anything else.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, it's a category of simple carbs, so they don't decompose in your body. They will have the same effect. So you could see something that says, for example, I'll give you the perfect example. Grab a banana chip bag.
Mm-hmm.
And then look at the carb line. The first line tells you total number of carbs. The second line, I think, says the protein. The third line tells you the sugar. And then add the sugar to the protein. It doesn't add to the top line.
Yeah.
And I think that's a carb that's created by yeast or other ingredients. I forgot what it is. And, you know, it's an eye-opener to see that, holy crap, even if I have something that says 0 sugar or 2 grams of sugar, I'm still putting bad carbs in my system.
Exactly. Exactly. Or the same thing with the cholesterol.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, the best food I would say is food from the earth, right? Food that's grown. You know, I think people that live in Haiti, more so than people that live mainly in the Caribbean, right? You have more direct access to truly organic food, right? You don't have to go to the store to overpay.
Yeah.
It's like you go to the marketplace, you go back to the days, for example, I remember in the 70s and 80s when I was a kid, when my grandmother, she only went to the supermarket maybe to buy milk, which we already thought we should stop drinking, because guess what? We're only living animal that drink milk after we're older than 6 months old.
Yeah.
There's one other animal living on this planet that consumes milk, and man consumes milk from animals that are actually stronger than them. So we should not, I'll go matter of factly and say, you should not consume milk, right?
Yeah.
At least not as a main ingredient. You can
That's
consume.
not as a main ingredient, yes.
There you go. You should not.
Also today with the almond milk and all these things, you know, milk from nuts basically. But the other thing, so,
you're right. I meant cow milk.
Here's the challenge with Haiti now. Yes, we have, because in the States, you go shop organic, that thing, you need to have money to shop organic in the States, right? But then what happened in Haiti also is those people from Monsanto, they started invading Haiti also and talking to farmers and promising them, you know, to get more crops and all these things if they put this vitamin on the earth and everything. I don't know how that's going today, but I remember about 2-3 years ago, there was a whole talk about it, that these people are starting to invade the Haitian farmers. And you know the situation in Haiti, these people are looking to live a life. So if they find a vitamin that could multiply their veggies to sell more to the market, then they'll do it.
Yep.
Right?
That's
unfortunate. I don't think they got to invade the whole country. And like, for example, well, in Port-au-Prince, I could say you still have, what is wrong with me and names today? La ferme qui a Kescoff, Jenny. Well, anyways, her farm is very organic till now, and she's very strict about keeping everything organic.
Yep.
Right? So you still have a few random stuff that are still, you know, access to organic, much cheaper than organic in the States.
Yeah.
But still a challenge with those people. I mean, these people are, I hate them.
Yeah. No, we're free.
Wind farm. Thank you.
We're freezing. You know, you have to understand one thing. All the non-natural ingredients that are used to raise plants and animals are naturally passed to you as you consume it.
Yeah.
Right? So if you don't want that, so for example, you know, I still buy certain things that, you know, for example, ham, it's a processed meat, right? I buy ham, but I make sure it says no nitrites, no nitrates. Antibiotics, right? It's obviously a lot more expensive, so you buy a lot less and you eat less, right? And in fact, we should eat less. You know, I went to a place the other day and I ordered a salad, right? And this thing literally came in a boat, right? And I'm looking at that salad. I was like, nobody should even eat that much lettuce in one sitting. You know, it cannot be good for you to have, because you know too much of everything is bad.
No, that's down to you. Too much of everything is just.
And then it's like you take good ingredients. It was salad. There was avocado paste. You know, there was a little bit of chicken cut in diced in it. And then I'm looking even the amount of avocado, and then you got to remember, guess what? There is such thing as oil, right? And oil is oil is fat. Period. The end.
Good fat or bad fat, fat is fat, and the excess of it will do, wrong. Exactly.
So when you tackle all that, you know, I think the key point that we touched today, Beatrice, in living diabetic is that trifecta. Exercise and then health, right? General health, healthy living.
Health.
Right? Follow with your doctors, follow with your nutritionist, follow, you know, and I'm going to repeat myself from probably episode 1. We don't all have to become Beatrice when it comes to exercise. That's your passion of her.
Yeah.
All you need is
tell people that.
An hour and a half of exercise, 5 days, 30 minutes a day. Just bring your heartbeat higher than normal for 30 minutes. That is all.
Yeah. Good.
You know, so however you get that 30 minutes in, you get it, right? Exercise, whatever, running, whatever it is, walking, cycling.
It could be, learning tennis,
Yeah. Except these practice this, especially with kids. I know for me, I always say, we as adults, we have a responsibility to the children. So when the children fail, that means somewhere an adult more than likely has failed, right? And in America, childhood diabetes is on the rise. I've never seen this.
In America, here's my issue with the States, right? You have access to everything if you want, but but you have as much access, if not more, to the crap.
Yeah.
And the way of life of the American, like, okay, they go the average American works 2 jobs enough to pay their bills. It's like work, go home and everything. Then what happens with that is that work. Okay, I don't have time to eat, so I'll pass by a McDonald's, get a quick meal, or I'll pass by the supermarket and get a TV dinner because I don't feel like going home and cooking.
Yep.
Right? And what I just mentioned here, the McDonald's, the Taco Bells, the junk food, those dinners, those microwave dinners, they're all poison, right? And now when you take on the flip side, when you go to a restaurant in the States and you ask, let's say, for example, for a ham and cheese sandwich, you have ham and cheese in that sandwich for 5 other sandwiches. It's like, of putting all that ham and all cheese, and some people will eat it all.
You just brought 2 very key points here. So I'm going to start with the ham and cheese part first. When I was in college in Gainesville, people I gave that joke just last night to a friend of the kids. And I said, because I was a broke college kid, what did I do? Every Monday, I would go to Arby's and I would get a ham and cheese sandwich. And then I would go home, I would take off the first slice and the last slice, and in the middle, I had enough ham for the whole week.
Yes.
And it cost $3. You know? So that's one. And then you mentioned the McDonald's. So the other day, you know, sometimes I do go in the dark side as well of food, right? So the other day I tell my wife, I was so frustrated. I was like, you know what? I want a bad meal today. So lo and behold, I go to Burger King, right? And then there's a sign at Burger King. Now, everybody has seen, even if you haven't traveled, a chicken nugget, right? It's about this big. It's about this big. There's nothing to it, right?
Yeah.
So there was an ad at Burger King promoting that they removed 180 ingredients out of the chicken nugget.
180 ingredients out of the chicken
have been removed from the old recipe.
What the pip?
Exactly. So what are you eating?
Poison. Toxic.
Might as well buy a bottle of Raid and a box of rat poison and then make a soup out of the two and then just kill yourself quickly so your family doesn't have to suffer with you, if that's the path you want to go.
Once you start eating those things, yeah. Definitely.
So I'm like, I guess I won't be eating chicken nuggets ever again.
No, but listen, that's when you realize also, like in the States, like everything is supersized, everything is very processed foods and everything.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the average American, like when you take, I'm going to make a parallel. Like when you take an obese person, let's say, and when I say obese, like visibly obese, overweight, when you take that person, let's say in Haiti, and when you take similar in the States, I am sorry, but it's two complete body shapes. Yeah. It's like the one in Haiti or other countries will have, they'll be big, but they have a human shape. I've seen people in the States, I don't understand the shape. And to me, it's all the crap in the food. That's those chemical things. I don't know what they're doing to the body, but they end up having a shape that does not make any natural sense.
I'm going to qualify that.
All,
if you look like a water drop.
Yeah. No, but that's not even that, Daniel. It's like the shape doesn't make sense anymore, and it's not like, and it's not like I'm body shaming, but it's like a reality of the crap that people would put in their bodies and then what happens to the body by doing that. And it's something that's not natural, what happens to the body.
So remember what we talked about in, I think, episode 2. If you want to know if you are overweight and too big, don't look at yourself facing the mirror. Be naked and look at yourself sideways. And if you overhang above your waistline, which is a common figure in America, that's why I say the water drop. Thin at the top, really heavy, and what they will tell you, the fat around the stomach is the most dangerous fat, especially for diabetes. And that is why when you are on insulin, this is where you do the injection directly into that fat. Mm-hmm. So that's, that's what I will leave you with, right? Again, if you want to know if you're overweight, do the test yourself. Let gravity take toll on your body. Turn yourself sideways to the mirror, and then observe your shape.
Yeah.
Then nobody can tell you exactly whether you're too big, too fat, or anything. You will know for yourself whether you are or not.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's where you're comfortable. But talking on the health side of things, you know, like you said, the trifecta is the solution, you know, proper eating, exercising, and maintaining a regular visit to make sure that you are in health.
That's right.
Because at the end of the day, something like diabetes, you might have it, you don't even know it.
That's
Like
right.
what happened to Junior.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So, you know, but hey, listen,
ways our time
is up. And thank you for the forum. Thank you for everything. I hope we educated folks. I like the fact that some questions came up. So do follow up. And what I would say to everybody, if you see something wrong, do something about it. If you
Yeah.
see something you can avoid, especially health-wise, do something about it.
Yeah.
You
All right.
know. All right, there. All right, everybody.
Third and final episode with my brother about diabetes. And I'm sure, well, you know, Daniel and I we probably will continue some conversation on my fitness page sometimes.
We
Whenever.
sure.
Huh?
We will, absolutely.
Yeah. So um the time is up for us. We have to go. So take care. And Daniel, we keep in touch.
Yeah. God bless. Love you. And we'll be continuing the conversation off channel.
Yes. All right. Bye.
Bye.